Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Soccer Showdown. Jersey Joe Artino, joined, as always, by our resident soccer expert, Mr. Michael Holzer. And Michael, we're coming off riding high off our Adventure Saturday covering New York City FC. We were at the game. What did you think of the environment? We've talked so much NYCFC on the show. You were finally there. You lived it. You breathed it. What did you think?
Yeah, I was very surprised by the amount of people who were watching the game in the stadium. It was a very cold weather. It was very cold and a lot of people were freezing, but they didn't care. They went to the stadium. They were loud. They were supporting New York City FC. Even when they were 1 goal down, they were all about the game. And yeah, it was pretty amazing how soccer is improving in the United States, how popular it got.
It is, and I got to be honest, Michael, that was one of the coldest games I've ever been to in my life. And I kind of asked you about that notion of playing in the cold weather like that for soccer players. And you talked a lot about that, and I was interested. You said it didn't really affect you. You liked playing in the cold. I find that kind of interesting.
Yeah, playing in the cold was always a pleasure for me. I really enjoyed it because I really struggle running a lot when it's really warm and really hot. And yeah, I was playing for the University of North Carolina in Greensboro, and usually that was very hot. And now in New York City, it's not that hot, and I really enjoy playing here.
And see, that's the interesting thing, because we're kind of hearing reports that the FIFA might have to move the next World Cup into like the November, December window. And a lot of people thought, well, you can't do that. It's going to be cold. Do you think the players actually might like that more than playing in the extreme heat, as we saw in this year's World Cup?
Yeah, I think the World Cup in Qatar is going to be a disaster playing if it's that hot. You know, you can't do that. Like, you're going to see results you would never see in normal conditions. So I think they should move it in the winter period, definitely.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw this summer how many. Do water breaks actually give you time to appropriately get into rhythm a little bit? I mean, does it actually do much?
Yeah, breaks always help, yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, I think those are the kinds of questions you just don't really talk about a lot, but it's interesting when you look at the guys on the field, how that fatigue wears down, and it was definitely apparent there. But let's get back on track with NYCFC. Obviously, the headline of the game was no David Villa, no Kiri Shelton, and no Adam Nemec, 3 of the biggest pieces of this club not playing. Michael, do you think that this offense is just never going to be able to get in rhythm without one of those guys at least being in the lineup?
I mean, these 3 guys are the main guys for their offense. They all put them together for a reason, and they didn't expect that all 3 were not going to be able to play in one single game. So that's one of the main reasons why they weren't that dangerous than before. They haven't had so many shots in that game, and yeah, they can't wait probably when David Villa is back, Kiri Shelton and Nemec, because these are their main guys, and these are the ones who are responsible for scoring them the important goals.
They really are, and I think Coach Kreis we were in the press conference, and he said it well. I mean, this is kind of good timing for them because they have the week off before they'll be playing Philadelphia, so David Villa can rest up. And he said, look, he's not going to be participating in team drills. His only mission is to get back healthy and comfortable. And he did say that this has been an injury that David Villa's had basically this whole season so far, which I find interesting because I got to be honest, I don't know if I've seen any drop in his form. Maybe in the Orlando game he looked a little bit jittery, but that was really just the first game. I think overall it hasn't looked to me like it's affected his form. But what about you? Do you think that you've seen any sign that something might have been bothering him?
No, not really. Like, I've been always a big David Villa fan. He was always, in every club he played, he was very consistent in his performance. I don't think he was a lot injured in his time. He never really was injured a lot. So I don't think he's going to be a big problem for them in case of injuries.
That's cool. Well, kind of when you look at their record right now, they're 1-2-1. So for a new club, I mean, and that's one thing Coach Kreis really seemed to stress in the press conferences. This is a new club. This is the first season they've ever had. When you kind of put that all into perspective, Michael, for me, and I think you've got to have a lot of promise out of what you've seen from NYCFC.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to do big things this year. I believe in their team. I believe in their offense. Also, I believe in their defense. I think their defense was also doing a very good job so far. They haven't conceded a lot of goals yet.
They have not.
Yeah, so I'm especially Jason Hernandez in the center back. He's a very good player. And yeah, I really was very impressed with them because they had a lot of injuries, especially in the defense. And they still played very good, in my opinion. They only conceded one really bad goals.
And let's be honest, that was so early in the game. I think. Do you think that was more of just luck? It happens sometimes.
It was a lucky game, a lucky goal. Like, it was such a lucky goal. Usually, you never concede a goal out of a throw-in.
Yeah,
I've never really seen this.
Me either.
Yeah, and especially in Europe, they don't really do long throw-ins. It's kind of an American thing.
It is,
and I really like it. It's like kind of crossing.
It's interesting,
and
right?
I think they should start doing that more often in Europe. But usually, players in Europe, they are not very good in using their hands and have power in their hands, or in their arms. So a lot of Americans do. So that's why they do it a lot.
Well, let's talk about the goaltending, because NYCFC did sign a new goalie. But I think when you look at the play overall from Josh Sanders, I've been very pleased. I think he's been very good in goal. What have you thought about him?
I agree. Like, all his things he did in the game, they were all very good. He looked solid. He looked experienced. He organized the defense very well. Like, there was really nothing to complain for him.
Absolutely. Well, and when we look at NYCFC, one of the big things that we've seen, and Coach talked about it, we talked to Ned Grabavoy, a lot of the players, they all kind of seem to get it too, is they kind of seem to struggle out of the gate, and then in the second half, they turn it on, and they just have it. And it seems like the type of thing where obviously David Villa not being there was something that was a big part of this loss, but I think overall this is a team that's definitely got its identity figured out. When Frank Lampard comes, I mean, that's the next question. Everybody's talking about it. He was there. We really didn't see him. They didn't really show him. He tried to keep a low media profile, but Michael, the number one question I'm asked is, how good are they going to be when they pair David Villa with Frank Lampard? How will they play off of each other, and just how will the two complement each other's games?
I just think they're going to be unbelievable dangerous offensively. And, Frank Lampard can shoot, and he can shoot from everywhere. That's alone a fact they would have needed in the last game, because there were not really a lot of shots from far distance. And also his eye for the players. He can play just with just a nice pass to lead to a goal scoring opportunity, and that's what David Villa needs for his game. Whenever he gets a chance, he usually takes it, and with those two, they're gonna be one of the best teams in the MLS.
I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about, but I mean, you're pairing Frank Lampard with David Villa. I mean, for a new club, having those two guys as your cornerstone players, that's pretty darn good. I'm excited out of my mind when Frank Lampard finally arrives and plays there. But when we kind of look at FC overall now, I want to kind of ask you about injuries, because you've been a player for a long time. You're actually scrimmaging against NYCFC tomorrow. Have you ever dealt with a pretty significant injury during your career?
No, I was really lucky in my time. I was never really injured. A lot of coaches said that as well, that you're never injured. That's a pretty good thing. Yeah, and I hope it's going to be the same in the future.
Absolutely.
And what I wanted to say before as well is, even if you look at Frank Lampard and David Villa, they would be still having a big impact, not only in the MLS. If they would play in Germany or in England or anywhere else, if you have these both players on your team, they are really good players. They would improve almost every team in the world.
They are. I mean, I've watched, obviously, I'm a big Manchester City guy, so I've seen a lot of Frank Lampard this season. Look, his form is still there. I mean, he has played significant minutes. I don't know if you remember the first match against Chelsea this season where he scores the time.
Yes.
He scored big goals for Manchester City this season, and he's not getting the kind of play time that he will with NYCFC. I just got to be honest. I look at the competition, and look, I think it's good in the MLS. It's not as bad as some people make it out to be. But I just, when I think of Frank Lampard, I just think this is a guy who's just going to dominate the league. What do you think?
Yeah, I think MLS is keep growing and growing, especially what guys you get all the time. For example, Kaká. Kaká is not really old, and Lampard and
Steven
Villa.
Gerrard is coming over.
Yeah, and Steven Gerrard. These are guys, they are not retired. The MLS used to be like a league where really old guys came, like around 37, 38, to make the last money in their soccer career. But now the players keep getting younger and younger, and they're all in their prime still. And I think they're not past their prime. They're still in their prime, and they're coming to the MLS, and that's a very good sign for the US, for the US soccer, and for the whole MLS.
It really is. I mean, when we look, I mean, the measure to show you that the sport is growing is stadiums. I mean, they're not going to be adding these expansion franchises if there's nobody watching, if there's no interest. Minnesota, it seems like, is one of the next ones to come. You see Miami's obviously in development. Now, here's the one, Michael, is everybody seems to be putting kind of all their money into the fact that Cristiano Ronaldo might come over here. I don't know if I buy it. I don't know if I could see Cristiano coming over when he still has so much left of his prime in him. I would see him more towards the later half of his career, maybe when he's lost a step. But what do you think? I mean, are fans kind of getting their hopes up appropriately?
I read an article that he's gonna come in 2018, I think.
Okay.
And I read an article that he already signed, has an oral commitment with David Beckham. So I can see Ronaldo playing in the MLS because Miami is his favorite spot with his family or for himself to do vacations. And he's always there. And he has made so much money. He has won the Champions League with 2 different teams. Like, I can see him being here and enjoy the rest of his career. And if Ronaldo would be here, I think there would be another big step for the MLS.
It would. I mean, you talk about like going into the next big step. Bringing in a guy like Ronaldo, that's as big a step as you could get in. It's interesting. When you look at the leagues in Europe and then you look at the MLS, what do you think is the biggest change? I think for me, when I really started to pay attention to the MLS after watching European football for so long, was the speed and just the precision of the guys' touch with the ball. Is that something you think is just so substantially different from both different leagues?
I think the MLS is more athletic. There's a lot of.
You do. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of pressuring. You don't have time in the middle. It's not that pretty of a soccer game. It's a lot of long balls, especially at that game we both watched.
Yes.
It wasn't a pretty game at all, in my opinion. It was poor soccer technique, but there was a lot of intensity and a lot of tackles, a lot of long balls, a lot of fighting. Like, it was a very intense match, but I didn't see a lot of pretty passes, pretty plays, or like a player was able to dribble 2-3 guys. I didn't really see that.
Interesting. Well, that is going to wrap up this segment for our NYCFC coverage. We'll be back here every week talking what's been going on with NYCFC. Obviously, the two of us have been reporters for the team. We will be back there many times, I am sure. As you can see, I have the jersey on right now, the beautiful away one. Look, I'm very excited. I know you are too, Michael. It's a great thing they have going on right now. It's been a lot of fun to cover, and we will continue to do so. But we will be right back talking a little bit of Lionel Messi's injury and anything else we feel like. So stay with us, and we will be right back.